Frank Drebin, Police Squad. The new version.
That's the sound of the police.
Greetings and salutations. I'm here with my review of The Naked Gun 2025. It's funny how often I have to put the year of a movie when there's a new version with the same title. I'll get to that in a moment. But this, of course, is the return of an old beloved franchise, the 1980s and 1990s Naked Gun films that were from Zucker Abraham Zucker, the comedy trio who gave us Airplane and Top Secret. And it is also a big return to that style of comedy, with Liam Neeson here taking over as Frank Drebin Jr., the son of the original Frank Drebin, played by the late, great Leslie Nielsen, in a movie that comes from director Akiva Schaffer of The Lonely Island fame. I'm a huge fan of pretty much everything The Lonely Island does. If you haven't listened to their podcast, I highly recommend it. And as a director, I love what he's done with co-directing Popstar and Hot Rod and his Rescue Rangers movie. And this movie reunites him with the writers of that film, Dan Greger and Doug Mand. And I think that this is pretty much a home run as far as what do you want when they bring back the title Naked Gun? Can it recapture the feeling of those old Zucker Abraham Zucker's movies? And I think that it completely does. It feels like we're just picking up where we left off with the new cast. But that style of filmmaking, that style of comedy, which was so specific the way they did it, playing everything very straight, of course, first and foremost, getting a dramatic star like Liam Neeson, because again, Leslie Nielsen, it often has to be remembered, was a dramatic actor until Airplane. That was the whole bit with every actor in that movie, with getting Robert Stack and all those other guys, is that they were known for drama, and now have them act like they would do in their dramatic roles, just in this farcical world around them. This movie really captures all of that. It captures the rapid fire pace of those movies where there's just a joke coming at you constantly. And like those movies, it means every single joke isn't a home run, but so many are. And if you didn't love one joke, if you didn't think something was that funny, guess what? Within, mere seconds, within 30 seconds, there'll be another joke, and that one probably will get you. It seems strange to go into the plot of this movie very much, even though, they have a nice basic plot to hang their story on, which is that there is an evil tech billionaire, very shades of Elon Musk, played by Danny Houston, and he has, a sort of apocalyptic device that he is going to unleash upon the world, and it is up to Frank Drebin and Police Squad to stop him. One funny thing here is that the right-hand man of Danny Houston's bad guy is played by Kevin Durand, who is great in pretty much everything he's in, but a lot of people have pointed out kind of looks like a big buff Elon Musk, especially when he was in Abigail last year. So it is kind of funny that he does not actually play the Elon Musk-esque role. He plays that guy's right-hand man. And I actually wish Kevin Durand had a little more to do in this movie. Of the main cast, he's the one who I feel is probably the most underused, and that he is doesn't have a lot of lines of dialogue. He is just sort of this big towering presence. But kudos to Danny Houston, because I think he is very funny here. Obviously, Danny Houston has played a lot of heavies in a lot of movies. But again, it's that clever casting of Liam Neeson and Danny Houston could play these types of roles in a straightforward action movie. The kind of action movie Liam Neeson has done a lot of the last 20 years. When they're doing it in something like Naked Gun that is meant to just make you laugh constantly and constantly point out how, sort of bizarre and over the top this world that this movie exists in is, it just works so perfectly. And then Pamela Anderson playing the love interest here that Frank meets, classic style, sort of femme fatale. She's part of the case that he's working on. He falls for her. She's really good, and she completely commits to what she's doing. And there is one scene in particular. This is a difficult movie to talk about because I don't want to ruin jokes. I don't want to say, and it's really funny when this happens, and it's really funny when this happens, and just tell you things that will be funnier in the movie than me telling you them. But there is one sequence, you'll know at the beginning, when she needs to distract Danny Houston's character, so she gets up on stage. And I thought I knew where they were going with this joke, and they go in a completely different direction, and it's hysterical, and it's kind of Pamela Anderson's big moment as far as just her being very silly and completely embracing that. And, you just feel like she's having fun. Someone who has been this sex symbol for so long, getting to show this very silly side. I just really love how much she commits to that. And then Liam Neeson. I mean, look, he is one of our great actors, but he has definitely done this funny thing with his career the past 20 years where once Taken took off, no pun intended, he just kept doing all of these strange, kind of increasingly B-movie action roles that seem like a strange turn for his career to go in. But now he gets to kind of send that up here too. And this movie doesn't try to exactly match what Police Squad was sending up and Naked Gun. I'm mentioning Police Squad, the original TV series, which you should watch if you can hunt it down. It's kind of hard to find sometimes because it's not available digitally. But that show and the original movies, their sort of core was almost kind of Dragnet and other old school police TV shows going up through the 70s, I'd say, maybe early 80s. This movie definitely uses that, but also uses more recent action movies. You can tell that they are having a little bit of fun with sort of a Ethan Hunt, John Wick style action. Not to say it completely leans into that. It never becomes a full parody of either of those movies, of Mission Impossible or John Wick. You just feel that there's that influence over what they're doing with some of the bits here and some of the way that the action plays out, the comedic action plays out in the film. Like the old classic Zucker movies, you need to look for jokes everywhere. Deep in the background, there's all sorts of sight gags happening along with the actual dialogue. This is a movie that almost begs to be seen again for that reason, because I know I missed jokes. I know I laughed over lines of dialogue that were probably funny, and I know I missed things that I just wasn't seeing visually because they sort of packed it. It's so dense with jokes on top of jokes. But yeah, I just rewatched all three of the original Naked Gun movies. And look, the first one is a stone cold classic. It is just a perfect comedy, I think, like Airplane is. The sequels are what often happens with comedy sequels, which they're diminishing returns. The second is pretty funny, a little more hit and miss. The third one is more miss than hit, but when it's funny, it's very funny. But as far as reviving things go, I think that this is a really sort of just welcome, well done return. It is funny that this movie is coming out just, 3 weeks after I Know What You Did Last Summer, because they don't seem like they'd have anything in common, but they kind of do. They are the fourth movie in a long-running, decades-old franchise. They are revivals that are also realistically, they're legacy sequels, which is funny to say about Naked Gun, but they do acknowledge the past. You've seen in the trailers that hysterical bit they do with OJ.
It's me, Frank Jr. Love you.
Hey, Dad. Boy, do I miss you.
And they do the thing that I hate. I complained about it with I Know What You Did Last Summer, of using that same damn title again. However, caveat here, the first Naked Gun was actually called The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. So technically, The Naked Gun on its own is a new title. So I'm going to let them get away with it. They get a special pass for that reason. This movie made me feel good. It made me feel like a kid again, which is a cliche to say, but it made me feel like a kid who watched these movies and loved them and loved their style and missed their style. And yes, this movie has more importance to it than it really should have to have, because we're not getting straightforward comedies anymore in theaters. They always have to seem to be like a sci-fi comedy or something. They make them a bigger sell, and to have just a pure comedy. And this kind of comedy, which is just trying to be silly and make you laugh, feels refreshing, but also like everyone hopes it's a big hit just to prove it can happen. And that's what I feel too. And also, by the way, going back to the I Know What You Did Last Summer thing, where legacy sequels also will inevitably feel like remakes too, because you're going to hit the sort of greatest hits and the moments you loved originally. This movie does that too. But I think they do a really good job of putting a spin on it. For example, in the original, Frank and Jane, the Priscilla Presley character, fall in love, and they get that hysterical montage. The We're Falling in Love montage set to a song. Well, there is a scene in this movie that's the equivalent. It is a falling in love montage set to a song, but it goes in a completely different direction. So I think it's a really good way to kind of give you what you liked, but to not do it the same way. To be like, okay, here's that moment that you might have been waiting for, but let's see what we can do with it comedically and just on the sort of central idea of what's happening here, and show how different it can be. And it's one of my favorite sequences in the movie as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up here just because, again, don't want to just tell you funny joke, that's a funny joke, get ready for this funny joke and ruin the jokes. But this movie was really good. Stay through the credits. Old school Abraham Zucker style. They do funny credits. I don't mean scenes in the credits, although there might be some of that too. But I mean read the credits. Because some people don't even know they did that in Airplane and Naked Gun in those movies. That if you read the credits, every once in a while was a funny one. They bring that back as well. And there's some great moments for snuck in there as well with the closing credits of this film. So yeah, highly recommend Naked Gun. If you can embrace the silly, if you can go over this style of comedy, hopefully you've seen Airplane and Naked Gun, the original, and know that this kind of thing is for you. And if you haven't, go check them out because I think they really hold up. And this movie can sit proudly next to them and continue that legacy. All right, guys, if you can like and subscribe, that'd be great. That's it for now. Take care.